Sorry, I picked up my water to take a drink and it says live and I'm like, oh shoot, I'm not ready. Hello, how are you? My name is Pam Barnhill and I would like to say welcome to everybody who's joining me live today. It is 2:45 on Thursday, right? Because it seems quiet here. There's somebody. Hello to all you replay viewers. We are so happy to have you on with us today, and hello to everybody who is coming on and joining me live. This is a lot of fun. So this is week 3 of our homeschool planning series, and so week 1 we talked about vision and why your homeschool needs one. Last week we talked about goals, and we talked about my number 1 tip for goal setting, which you'll have to watch last week's video if you want to know what that is. I'm just going to tease that and leave it out there. And this week we are talking about course of study. What are you going to study in your homeschool, and how in the world do you even decide what that is? And so that's what we're talking about this week. My name is Pam Barnhill, and I have 3 homeschooling podcasts, and I also homeschool 3 sometimes wonderful children, and sometimes who. Anyway, I'm thinking about long-term sleepaway camp this summer for all 3 of them. Either that or doing a road trip. So I'm like varying widely between 2 extremes. I know. I am taking them to the beach later this month. So there you go. But anyway, 3 homeschooling podcasts. The Your Morning Basket podcast, all about morning time. The Homeschool Solution Show, which is a brief little audio blog. This week is so good, guys. Hey, Mary. This week is The Myth of Independence by Heather Woody, so don't miss that one. On Homeschool Snapshots this week, we had Sarah Mazarek, who has a wonderful online reading community called Potato Peel Pie. Dawn's going to drop a link for you. Dawn's hating me right now. She's like, I got to go find that link. She didn't tell me we were going to do that one. And also Your Morning Basket, which is all about morning time in your homeschool. Or did I say that already? Anyway, we got lots of podcasts. Dawn put all the links down there for you. So today we're talking about course of study and what should you study and how do you even know what you should study. I mean, hello, this is confusing, but really it's not. It's not really confusing, and we're going to talk about why not. So let's start with elementary school. So let's say you have a kid between kindergarten and 6th grade, and what in the world should we study about in our homeschool? Well, first of all, you have to cover your basics. You have to learn how to read, you have to learn how to write, you have to learn how to spell. Unfortunately, they don't come out of the womb automatically knowing how to do that. And you have to learn mathematics. So those are 3 things that you just have to study in your homeschool, the reading until they become proficient at it, and then just let them read. Please don't do reading comprehension books and programs past the time that they learn how to read. Just let them read and tell you what they read. And as long as you know that they're reading and comprehending, it's all good. But make sure that they can do it first before you set them free. And it's going to vary from kid to kid. Some are going to be able to do it at 6 or 7. Some are going to need to go to 5th grade, but once they're ready, just turn them loose with it. Okay, so once you have the basics down, what else do you study? Well, the first thing I'm going to tell you, and this is a caveat through all 3 levels that I'm going to talk about today, is you have to check your state's requirements and know what your state requires. Here's the second thing I really want you to be aware of, though. Many states don't require anything. I mean, really look into those state requirements. You can go to HSLDA to see what the laws are in your state. But my state has absolutely no requirements about what an elementary school student should be doing. And so sometimes what happens is homeschool moms, even of high school, they will get it into their head that the state requires this of the public school, and so homeschool students must do this as well, and it's simply not true. So do not be a slave to any so-called requirements that you think your state might have. Now, there's a few states, Pennsylvania is one of them. Tina's telling us right now that New York is another that does this. There are a few states where they do have requirements, and you do need to know what they are, and you do need to follow them. But those states are in the minority. For so many states, there simply are not any. And so if you want to spend your time studying Latin and you want to skip the health class for elementary school, please do it. Don't feel like you've got to hit 4 social studies and whatever for elementary school. The requirements just aren't there. And a lot of times they aren't there for high school either. Telling you a story, couple of months, maybe the beginning of this school year, like last summer, the state of Alabama passed this new requirement that all high school students have to have a career preparedness course, okay? Maybe it was even before that. Maybe it was last year, because I remember our swim teacher talking to us about this. Immediately on our local homeschool group, you had moms coming on saying, what are you going to do to meet the career course requirement for your high schooler? Folks, it was not a requirement for homeschool high school students. They didn't have to do it at all. And there were people tying themselves up in knots about this particular requirement. Go ahead. So, it's just not a thing. Okay, so that's first. I want you to know. So what do you do for elementary school? You have fun. You do those skill-based things that every person who's going to be a person functioning in society needs to learn how to do. And then other than that, you study what you want. And you do that so you can really have fun learning how to study things. How do you study something? You read books, and you do experiments, and you regurgitate the information, and that's the way you study things. How do you study things as an adult? Well, let's figure it out. And you give them lots of things to do independently, so you can work with other kids in the meantime, and they don't drive you crazy. So it doesn't hurt them to go off and read a book and answer a few questions on their own, or color in and label a map, or go practice their spelling words on the computer, or take a little coding class, or spend time on Khan Academy, or whatever the case may be. So keep that in mind, that those are the kinds of things you do when you have elementary students. Follow their passions. If they love knights and castles, study knights and castles. If they love plants, study plants. If they love horses, Beautiful Feet book has like a whole elementary series on horses. So study what interests them. And this is a very good thing. Now, if you're a bit of a nervous Nelly, or if you have a husband who's going, you need to come up with a plan, or if you have relatives who are breathing down your neck and you're not like me and telling them to hit the road, Jack, if you're worried about this, I have a couple of resources for you. One of them is Edie Hirsch's series of books, What Your Blank Needs to Know. So what your 3rd grader needs to know, what your 4th grader needs to know. Get that book, look at it, and use it to figure out, some of the things that you can study this year. So that's something you can do. Another thing you can do is World Book Encyclopedia actually has a K through 12 course of study on their website. So you can go to that link, and Dawn's going to drop it down there for you, and you can see what World Book Encyclopedia says your average 3rd grader is doing. This is the list of skills, the list of things they're studying, the list of things that they're doing. And so use that to figure out what it is you should be studying. So if you're needing this kind of reassurance, use those particular things to help you figure out what kind of things to study in your homeschool. Other resources you could use, The Well-Trained Mind. Do not stress out over that book. Use it as a reference book. I keep it on my shelf as a reference, and I pull it out. I have a little saying, what would Susan Wise Bauer do? I pull it out and I see, what would Susan Wise Bauer do with her 3rd grader? And use that to help guide me. Another thing is if you're into a particular method of homeschooling, like Charlotte Mason, go look at Ambleside or simply Charlotte Mason. If you're into classical, go see what Memoria Press is doing. So, you could use those as resources for figuring out what you're going to study. So that's elementary school. Middle school, even easier. You're starting to look forward to high school, and you want to prepare your child to be able, you want them to have the set of skills that they need to have in order to excel or succeed in a high school coursework. So you're going to really want to work on their writing. You want to make sure they're reading well and comprehending. They're able to tell you back what they're reading. I really believe in the power of narration. And you really want to, nail down those writing skills. Use a good writing program. IEW is a particularly good writing program that you could use to get them ready to write. Oh, good. Everybody's dropping links down here for us for different curriculum to look at. And yes, the Rebecca Rupp book, The Home Learning Year by Year. Great recommendation, Kate. So good. Okay, so really start working on those skills for middle schoolers. Make sure that they've got the fractions and the decimals and they are into their pre-algebra to get them ready for high school math. Those are the kinds of things, a nice business math course, some logic. Those are all good things for the middle school age group right there. So then let's kind of move into high school, because middle school is kind of preparing for high school. So I want to talk about high school, because once you have an idea of where you're going there, then you can kind of work your way backwards into middle school. So for high school, you have a couple of options. If you have a kid who is going to college, then what you want to do is you want to go to the website of the colleges that you would like your child to attend, or that your child is interested in, the colleges where you think they might go, your alma mater, the state school, whatever. And go to that admissions office page and see what are the requirements for them to be admitted to this college, and do it for 4 or 5 and come up with kind of a conglomerated list. And we have a post on our website that shows you how to do this, and Dawn's going to drop the link for you. It's by a lady named Ann Carricow, and she is one of our contributors, and she walks you through exactly how to take this step. And so once you go and you see what the requirements are, you can make your list of what all of the things that we're going to study in high school based on that. Then you can back out and say, okay, I'm looking at my middle schooler, my 7th, 8th grader. I wouldn't even worry about this in 6th grade. 7th, 8th grader, okay, how are we going to get prepared to do this list? Is there anything they can start early? Are they really good in math? They can start algebra in 8th grade. Those are some things you can look at. Foreign language, they can get a foreign language credit in 8th grade. They can go ahead and get Spanish 1 or Latin 1 in the 8th grade. So those are particular things to look at. But look at that requirements from that college and say, these are the things that we need to do. So then start plugging them in, because world history could be modern world history, it could be medieval world history, it could be ancient world history. There are a number of different things that could fit into that particular spot. A lot of times a college will say, oh, you need 3 credits in literature. Well, you can choose which kind of literature that you want to do. In science a lot of times as well. So just look at the requirements and see which ones they're requiring of you. Once again, check your state requirements, but be aware that a lot of states do not have specific requirements. So this is why it makes it even better to go off of what the college is recommending that you do. So be prepared, look at what those colleges want to see and do that. Now, what if you have a kid who doesn't think they are college bound, or they don't seem interested in going to college? So thanks, Dawn. What you need to do then is, I would hedge my bets, because just because you have a child who's not necessarily interested in going to college, when they're in high school, they think they want to do some kind of vocational training or something like that, it doesn't mean that they're not going to want to go to college down the road. So a very good thing to do in this case is to have a look at the website of your local community college and see what are the requirements for entry into your community college, and make sure that they have all of those basics in high school. Make sure that they've covered all of the requirements for entry for your local community college in high school, and that way, if they get 3 or 4 years down the road and they've changed their mind and they've decided that they do want to go to college, it gives them a good place to start. So yes, my mother is saying it's never too late to go to college. We were both in college at the same time, so she knows for sure that that's the case. So have a look at what your community college requires and give them those basics so that they have those if they change their mind a few years down the road. And then if you have a child who thinks they want to be an air conditioning technician or a bricklayer or a vet tech or, something in the medical field or something like that, see if you can get them into some kind of apprenticeship or internship for that particular program. And see if you can get them to give it a try and see if they like it. That might be something that they can do while they're still in high school. And, I know that the city where my husband works, actually, you can go and intern in the summer in the IT department. And so somebody may think, well, I'm not really going to go to college. I'm going to get like some certifications and I'm going to work on computers and things like that. They can intern in the IT department to see if this is something that they really want to do. So, really venture out into all of those different options. Look at Praxis. That's another thing that we've been talking about quite a bit, and they have internships available and they have a training program available. And then Tina is mentioning dual enrollment. Very much so. If you have a community college that's local to you, I don't know if four-year colleges do it or not, but look at taking your 15 or 16-year-old and letting them dual enroll and getting their feet wet in some of those college classes. So that's a really good thing to do as well. And you can ease into it. I know some moms go different routes. Sometimes you'll have a kid who's really wanting some of those hard sciences, and mom's like, this is the best way for them to get it, and I don't have to teach it. So they dual enroll something like a chemistry because their child's ready for it. Or you have other moms who are like, I want them to just get their feet wet. So we're going to take like the computer science course, an easier course for them to take. So that's something you can go either route. That's something you can do as well. And I had one more thing I wanted to say, and I can't remember what it was. Oh, depending on your state. So I know in the state of Alabama, we have to pay for dual enrollment classes. Homeschoolers do. If you're in the state of Florida, you don't have to pay for dual enrollment classes. You only have to pay for the books. So it depends on which state you're in as to what you're going to have to pay for your child to dual enroll. But it's definitely something that they could do because it counts for high school credits and for college credits as well. Okay, so I've given you a bunch of good places to start when you're figuring out what you're going to study. I realized the middle school area was a little thinner, but what you're going to want to do is start thinking about college and then back off from there. And, what do you need to do? Hey, my child is going to be taking high school literature or high school biology. What skills do they need? And a lot of times they need study skills and they need organization skills and they need to be nudged incrementally into independence and good study habits. And that is a good thing to use middle school for. So hopefully we've answered more questions than we've raised, but if you have any more questions, put them down below in the comments and we'll get back to them after the video's over. So you guys have an awesome day, and I will see you again next week.